Welcome into the Pillow Talk edition, the second of two streams that I personally, Pugs Moran, participate in here each and every day. The first one, we call it High Noon. We call this Pillow Talk. Actually, let's be clear. We call this Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. And there is the Parker to my Pugs, the peanut butter to my jelly, the whatever. How are you, James Parker? Welcome to our show.
That sounded unsettling for some reason.
Hey, got an idea. Want to fly it past you. Want to
Sure.
fly it past you right here from the... Hello, Byron. Hey, Al. Here's the idea. So for some odd reason, within the last, I would say 48 hours, the last 2 nights, I have been engaged in a lot of conversation with people I consider friends or people that I, admire to a great degree. Other casters, if you will, other broadcasters.
Casters, I like that. Okay.
Radio folk. Well, casters, because we're not all broad and we don't all, stream. We don't all narrow. It's broadcasters.
Oh, I get it. And it works. Yeah, casters. We're just casting something.
We're just casting something. The means of distribution.
It may be broad, it may be narrow, it may be over the air, it may be via stream, it may be bounced off something that's floating in outer space. But we're just casting. That's what we all have in common.
We're just casting. We're not broadcasting. Okay. So I've been talking to a lot of people, and by happenstance too, just like, oh, hey man, how are you? I was thinking, how would you feel about doing like an old pro week on Pugs and Parker, where every night we bring in another old pro and we invite an old radio pro. We tell some radio horror stories. Now, the majority of these people are going to be folks not currently working, not currently retired.
Okay.
Like the guys.
I would love this idea. You would love this idea. Most of our friends would love this idea. But I have a sneaking suspicion. This is kind of like when you recommended the Opie and Anthony Shock Jocks podcast. Me and you love it, but I don't think the outside world gives a crap as much as we do. Like we do, to the level that we do. They don't care.
What do we care? We're doing a nightly stream. We're trying to, first of all, everybody that I'm talking about has way more social followers than we do. So, just
that can't hurt, right?
Can't hurt to, widen the net a little bit. No, and I mean that who have I been talking to recently? Grego just receed, he just had a heart attack.
The Hammer?
The Hammer, Greg the Hammer Williams. So I was thinking we should invite old Grego on. We should invite old Grego on and let him tell some ticket stories.
I've never met him, so it would be
he's great.
Cool for me, but you know him, right? Y'all are sort of friends.
We are sort of friends. Yeah, we are two people who worked in this town at the same time. We were very kind to each other. He was very kind to me. I was a big fan of his.
Y'all were on the same station for a second there, right?
No, I think Greg was gone. I think that we came to that station just after Greg had exited the ticket. But anyway, I like Greg. There are people in Chicago. I mean, here's what I would like to do. I would like to get Greg Williams on with us, the Hammer, but then I'd also like to get Dan McNeil on. Dan McNeil is a guy, although I don't know. I'd have to clear that with some people. I don't suppose it would be a problem. But the only reason is because these two dudes have the exact same career. They have the exact, it's a Mason-Dixon separation between two sports talk guys who have the exact same story.
Well, I'm not that familiar with Dan McNeil. Did he develop a cocaine habit in his mid-40s?
Yes.
That's hilarious. Yes.
Well, no, actually, I don't
Grego's like the only person I know who did that. Let's just pick up a new drug in our 40s.
Well, I think we should, Greg's a very open book. That's why Greg is.
Bro, I think you were the one who sent me his old blog where he just typed out everything that happened to him in
Fantastic.
Yeah. Duh, that's bizarre. Whoa, I can't believe you wrote all that down.
No, here's how I would say they're like the same guys. because both of them were titans in major market sports talk radio for a very long time. Like big timers. We're talking cashing the big checks. We're talking swinging the big stick. We're talking national exposure from time to time from, the ESPNs, the Fox Sports, all that kind of stuff. Both of them are quintessentially their market. Greg Williams is, in my mind, the quintessential Texas sports guy. Like the guy who TCU grad, has opinions on everything college football, knows it inside and out. Dan McNeil is that exact same thing in Chicago. Baseball historian, hockey freak, no, it's just, so they're very similar in that way. And quite simply, their broadcast styles remind me of one another. They are both what you see is what you get everymen. They're not the guys who talk like this. They're not like big phonies. They're not trying to put anything on.
I kind of feel like Grego is the Texas version of Mike North.
Okay. And because I know a little bit, by the way, McNeil and North, McNeil and no, it was McNeil and Jiggets. McNeil and North were on the same station, and I imagine they're very similar. McNeil and North are very similar in that they're neighborhood guys, who are just 100% of their place. Just like Greg. Greg Williams is 100% of his place. He is Texan through and through. Funny as hell. They're both funny. Some of them, sometimes they're both hysterically funny when they don't really mean to be funny. They're just naturally gregarious people who make others laugh simply by being themselves. You know what I mean? Like they're not trying for the joke. They're just funny individuals. So I always wanted to get those two together. And honestly, because I think that they could do a really good podcast together. I think that they would be really great. And yes, both of them had ends to their storied, iconic careers because of dalliances, an addiction issue, whatever. I don't want to speak out of turn for either one of them. Both were extremely well publicized, so it's not like it's a secret. Yeah. And I just think that I don't know. I was thinking of them. I was thinking I'd like to have Kevin Matthews on with us again to tell radio stories. I'd like to have, John on. I know that we've had the superhero alter ego. I'm good, maybe get or whatever, but I'd love radio stories from that side, people that you've worked with. And yes, it is very much an inside radio thing, but we're trying to grow this thing. We're trying to tell stories. I was talking with Jody Dean tonight. Jody Dean is a fascinating guy. He is such a brilliant dude. Former news guy, news anchor here at CBS, longtime talk show host in the market. Just a really fascinating guy, really interesting, open-minded dude who I like a lot. Richard Hunter I was talking to the other day. I'm like, I'd like to get Big Dick on. Let's let Big Dick do some scorched earth.
Yeah, he's got incredible stories.
Yeah. So maybe we don't even have to do, because I see what you're saying about doing an entire week where every show of that week is dedicated to that kind of thing. That might be a little bit much for people who just like us doing what we do. So maybe we do that on Thursdays. Maybe we do like Old Pro Thursdays or something like that. Maybe every little while. Hey, it can't help, man. It can't help reach out. I'd love to get Opie on, man. I'd love to have Opie come join us. He's another one that I've had some little dalliances with recently. Friendly. I mean, I'm not the kind of guy. I'm not big on, hey, come do my show. I hate that. I hate asking. You know what I mean? I'm just not comfortable with that. Other people might be, but I would do that. I would do that to get Opie on here with us and tell us some Opie and Anthony stories, and other people that people that you have worked with that I don't know. Introduce me to your friends. That kind of a thing. I don't know. I just thought that might be a fun idea.
I'm just rolling through like a little Rolodex in my head.
Kevin Matthews. I'd really like to get Kevin on again because there's a lot of stuff that I'd like to talk to him about. He's a fascinating guy.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. The biggest guy that I wish we could have on would be Jay Michaels. He was
okay.
He was the guy who shared our studio when he was in New Orleans when I worked at Sirius, and people probably know him better as Eddie LeBeck from Cheers. He was also
Yeah.
like the football coach in Mr. Holland's
See, that's
Opus,
what I
and
said. Didn't he die? I thought he died.
yeah, he just died
Oh,
like 3 years ago. Yeah, but
okay.
he goes all the way back. He had a regular character in Mork and Mindy,
Right.
and then he
Yeah.
did Cheers, and then he did Murphy Brown, and then he did movies for a while. And
He was a guy I didn't know him, but I had a friend in the business who did know him, who used to always swear that if that guy had not tried to go make it in Hollywood, that he would have been one of the biggest radio personalities of the 80s and 90s. But instead, he jumped off the radio thing, got diverted, became Eddie LeBeck, from Cheers and all that,
well, it
which isn't
started with
bad.
Mork and Mindy. That's what pulled him out of radio at first.
Uh-huh.
And then, yeah, then Cheers sort of solidified it. And then he got the regular role as Murphy Brown's boyfriend. And, he came back to radio, and he was the guy when Howard Stern for a while there was just working Monday through Thursday and took off every Friday. Jay Thomas was the guy that did the Friday show. He was like the second Howard Stern.
Yeah, he was great.
And so he would do that, like separated from me by like a couple panes of glass. And so I could just listen from my studio what he's talking about over there. And then he was just really good. Like what
Yeah.
we're trying to do every night. He was just really just naturally, well, I say naturally good at it. He'd been doing it for decades and had a ton of practice and coaching and scenarios and formats and all kinds of crap under his belt.
No,
But
he's a pro. He's a legit radio pro who was such a big star that he was able to make the jump in the late 70s to television. That's a big accomplished person. Just because those of us who started listening to radio in the 90s and the 2000s may not be as familiar with him, doesn't mean that this dude wasn't killing it back
yeah,
in, when he was doing it.
dude, he's a guy who has amazing stories, especially for radio
Oh
people like
god.
you and me, because most of them are radio centric. And I'm kind of a Cheers nerd. That's sort of my favorite show of all time. And so it's like really cool for me to get to meet Eddie LeBeck at first. But then he came the guy because he's from New Orleans. And so he was in New Orleans a lot. And so he was broadcasting from our studios like half the time, maybe for a while there. And it kind of wore off that he was Eddie LeBeck, and then he just became Jay Thomas once you hang out with someone often enough. But then when I would go to New York City for like the Christmas party for Sirius or whatever, he would be the only person I knew there, and he knew that, and so he'd let me hang out with him, kind of like
Okay,
out of pity.
I was just gonna say he's dead, so you don't have to do any of the protectionism. Was he a good guy or was he a typical radio asshole? And you just answered my question. I didn't even have to ask it. You said you'd go to New York and he would, be like he'd recognize that you were there not knowing anybody and he brought you in. That means he's a good guy. That means he's one of the 1% of radio people who make it, who are good
Right.
dudes.
Right, and he's like, look, I know I'm the only person here, and I don't even like these things. I'm too fucking old for these things. Is what he would say. He was like 60 at the time. But if you're 60, everyone else is having a great time. They're almost all like a generation younger than you. Like they're stars that are your kids' age. And
That's a mindset. Hold on, I gotta close the door. Yeah, he was young. People would love him. All right, I gotta close the door because the dog has,
close it.
oddly
That's
enough,
fine.
learned how to put her little paw on the door of the guest house and push it open. So she just did that. James, take it.
Yeah. So where the hell is Rebecca? I'm glad you asked that, Jeff. Dude. I should have looked at the comments beforehand. Hey, Ram, good to see you. John, where are you at tonight? Colorado? Can you narrow it down? That's a pretty big rectangle there.
All right. My apologies for that.
All right. Now that you can hear again. So Jeff actually asked, so where the hell is Rebecca? So I asked Rebecca if she wanted to come on tonight, and Rebecca said that she has a date. She's getting picked up at 7:15. So this is so good that Rebecca's finally out, because I've had all these stories that I hadn't been able to tell people about what it's like when your best friend is a freaking trans.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious because, you don't have to be like politically correct or worry about being offensive. This has been probably my best friend for like 12 years here. And I get to make fun of him. But I've only been able to make fun of her in front of her face or his face, whatever they tend to wear that day. Just I'll go along with it, whatever. So so many questions are already popping up in your head, and I know what they are. Is it a girl or is it a guy?
I don't care.
Fine. Don't ask. Don't ask. No, because the funny part is the best one is no matter
right?
No
It's a
matter
girl.
no
I
matter
don't
where
think I
Rebecca
get it.
goes or who she talks to or whatever, the question is going to come up 110% of the time. Have you had the surgery? Do you still have your junk? I mean, on a long enough time scale, there's 100% chance that question gets asked. And I love it because I've had to deal with this like a bazillion times and not be able to go tell my friends and everything. It's like, you know what it's like when your best friend's a tranny. You know,
Well, wait a second though. Let's be clear. Rebecca is a trans lesbian.
it's a dude that likes girls. Okay.
It's a trans lesbian. If she wants to be considered a woman when she is in her trans mode, okay, she is a trans woman who likes other women. That's a lesbian. She's a trans lesbian. That's. I
Okay.
mean, I don't think that is. I don't know. That's not. I don't.
I think technically speaking, if we're looking at the the
Yeah,
LGBT
how,
placemat or whatever, that's where it would overlap.
well, we forced by these new circumstances that we all have to
Oh, I'm not.
deal with.
No.
Well, no, but we are forced to be extra. We have to look harder at the way people want to be referred to. So, I mean, look, that's just I'm drilling down on this. She is a trans woman. She's a trans woman. That means that she was born as a man. She is a trans woman who dates other women because there is no there's only one dick involved in this whole situation, and it's not where you'd expect.
Thank you.
That's right.
That's exactly where I'd expect. It's on that dude in a wig.
Well, okay. All right, but yeah, there you go. Okay. So good for Rebecca. And I hope Rebecca is having a good time. Maybe you could give her a call on the air.
Well, these are always good stories, and the funny part is like these are problems you and I just don't have to deal with, right?
I don't know. What is Ram saying? Ram says, "What is trans mode?" I don't know what that means. I don't know what is trans mode. John, I met a tranny in Vegas.
Haven't we all?
I don't think
Haven't we
we're
all?
allowed. Yeah, I don't think we're allowed to call them that. I don't think that's their preferred designation. I think
Most
tranny.
of them don't care. Most of them are cool with it.
You know, that's absolutely true. Most of them don't care. Just like most Irish people don't care if you make fun of the fact that we've got a long history of drunkenness. Italians don't care if you say that, oh, you're all mobsters. Indians don't care if you do the feathers or,
Don't care.
they don't care. People don't care. You know who care? People who have nothing to do with those ethnicities or those races who think that we should all be. I hate that.
I'm offended on their behalf.
Right, those people. Oh, you people suck.
I'm taking the moral high ground and I'm planting my purity flag right there.
You can be respectful and you can be understanding and you can be open-minded to people and accepting and all that kind of stuff without being pandering, without being somebody who condescends. And that's exactly what you do when you're a white lady soccer mom from Beverly Hills who they're called Native Americans. Oh, shut up, Karen.
It's Latinx. No, it's not.
Stop it.
It's not Latinx. No one
They
says that.
don't want you. I'm an ally. Oh, God. Now is not the time. When push comes to shove, let's see if you're an ally. When they move next door to you, Karen, let's see if you're still an ally. I don't have a problem with them. It's just their rain dances. They ruin the neighborhood. They're bringing the property values down.
Their rain dances.
Okay, Karen, Miss Open-Minded. All right, you want to do a little bit of a monologue here? What are you thinking?
I do want to do a little bit of a monologue. I'm glad you asked that, sir.
I'll tell you what, why don't we do an entire monologue and, something like that.
That would sound swell. Or something.
Please welcome to the Comfort Nest stage here high atop the 1%er compound in beautiful downtown sunny Highland Park, Texas. Hi, everybody. I'm your master of ceremonies, Pugs Moran. He, coming to the stage now, has been entertaining the kings and queens, the monarchs of Europe. He's the veteran of over half a dozen cruises. He's a mirth maker known the world around. Please welcome James Abbott Parker.
Thank you. Great crowd.
Abbott.
No, it's a beautiful crowd. According to the Globe magazine, the Pentagon is still hiding UFO secrets, but the Pentagon's denying it. I don't know who we're supposed to believe, the Pentagon or the Globe. It's just A little too close to true. Scientists say a massive asteroid will fly past Earth Friday night. But don't worry, there's no danger to Uranus.
Uranus jokes.
They're in my contract. The World Health Organization has confirmed 131 cases of monkeypox. Symptoms of the disease include headaches, fatigue, and a tendency to throw poop.
Did you do that one before? Aren't you recycling monkeypox jokes?
I think I might have done a derivation of that joke, a derivative. Former White House press secretary Jen Psaki is going to join MSNBC this fall, but I don't know if that story is true because I heard it on MSNBC. In Tampa, Florida, that is. McDonald's workers went on strike. They're threatening the company, saying if their demands aren't met, they're going to take their lack of skills elsewhere. Damn it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Punch down there, tough guy. Punch down.
Also in Florida, this time in Bradenton, a 33-year-old female teacher was sentenced to 20 years in prison for having sex with the 15-year-old male student, which 26 years, that sounds ridiculous for a female teacher.
Oh.
I love kitty sex, don't you? In San Francisco, police have been banned from the Pride Parade this year. The only exception to the rule, though, is the cop from the Village People. He's allowed.
Saw that one coming.
Good.
That from a mile away.
May is Older Americans Month. The most popular dating site for single seniors is called Our Time, which is better than its original name, Running Out of Time.
There you go.
And finally, gas prices are so high, Pugs.
How high are they?
On ABC, there's a new reality show called Who Wants to Marry a Guy Who Has a Full Tank?
Look at that.
That was a monologue.
Okay. All right, James Parker, you got anything?
I want to start off with an homage to the guys who make dust.
Oh, dust makers. Okay.
Yeah, the dust makers. The dust makers are really the thing that brings even the poorest among us into the level of kings, is what it does.
How so?
Okay, so the dust I'm talking about is the food scientist. I think that was like Chevy Chase's job in the National Lampoon's series. Wasn't he like a food scientist?
I thought, yeah, he was he worked in additives, like all the chemicals,
right? Something like that.
Yeah, he got.
All right, so I don't even know what this dude is called, but he is the hero of my entire life. The guy that makes that food science dust, and the dust it shows up everywhere in food science. Like the only difference between like my kid today, number 3, Atticus, he got some Funyuns, but they were flaming hot Funyuns. Now they were still like the sort of cornmeal ring that's supposed to taste or represent an onion ring. But instead of having the regular Funyuns onion dust, this had a different dust on it. It just was like the Funyuns onion dust with a little bit of like chili or paprika or some sort of spice on it.
James, you're talking about seasoning. You're calling it dust. I don't know why you're calling it dust. You're talking about seasoning.
Because it's more than seasoning. Listen. A couple days ago, me and kiddo number 2, we were making beef stroganoff for the family. You fry the meat, you brown the meat, you drain off the extra fat, then you do the noodles, and then what you have is noodles and meat. The thing that makes it stroganoff, though, is a cup of milk and this package of what? Dust. It's not just seasoning. There's also emulsifiers in there.
Yes,
it makes it into
it's evaporated egg dust.
It is science, Pugs.
That's not how you make stroganoff. You actually make stroganoff sauce with eggs and you beat it. But, you know, if you got the dust envelope, I suppose that is an easier way.
You don't need all that if you've got the dust guy. And that's what the dust guy has done. He has made everything attainable to the lowest among us in the culinary world. Yeah. And I, for one, just salute the hell out of this guy, because he is just changing everything, and it's good. Like, they talk about how like you're not supposed to eat
processed. Hold on, let me just stop you one more time. I'm going to go back to the stroganoff thing because I love the stroganoff. You're making you're describing, James. You need to put together a white trash cookbook. You are making stroganoff with ground beef and then like, evaporated stroganoff. You're not using sirloin tips the way you're supposed to. You're using ground beef, egg noodles. Please tell me you're at least using egg noodles.
I don't know. It's see how Jeff says, did you make the hamburger helper stroganoff? No, I made the generic store brand version of the hamburger helper stroganoff.
You know what? Then I doff my cap to you, because the hamburger helper and the generic versions of all of those things are delicious.
Yeah, no, I know it's not good for you, and they tell you you're not supposed to eat all this processed food. Processed food's killing you. Processed food making you fat. Processed food's making you. Yeah, okay, maybe it's not good for me, but it tastes good,
It's
and
delicious.
it's the food scientist. It's the dust guy and the dust
Yeah.
guy's cousin, which is the sauce guy.
Look, I'm not ripping on the dust guy. I just I would call him a seasoning expert, a guy who knows how to, make seasoning. Dust,
It's
I get
more
it.
than that, though. But I mean,
Well,
there's
it's space food.
emulsifiers in
So
there.
this goes all the way back to NASA. All of these evaporated, just you add water. That's all NASA stuff from the Apollo program. Those are the people who first put that shit out there. Or actually before the Apollo program, the Mercury program. It was that stuff, the evaporated food. You ever get space food? Like
Yeah,
the
like
little
it started with Tang, and then the
Yeah.
genius has exploded from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so look, it's the dust guy. Whenever you see Doritos and they have 17 different flavors or whatever, it's all the same base little triangle corn chip. The dust guy is the difference maker in every single one of those bags. The corn chip guy, he's a dime a dozen. You can find those guys, just pick any guy off the street and he'll be the corn chip guy. But the dust guy is the thing that makes it's the difference between the triple cheese and the Cool Ranch, right?
We'll see calls it beef stroganoff.
Fine, it's stroganoff.
That's funny.
So, look, a great example of this is a tube of Pringles. It looks like a can of tennis balls or whatever. But all the Pringles are the same little curvy. Is that potato? But the difference is all 100% in the dust. The difference between sour cream and onion. The difference between salt and vinegar. The difference between the barbecue and then the pizza and the rotisserie chicken flavor Pringles. It's all about the dust. The dust guy does everything these days. And I don't even know what
Well,
he's
look, back
called.
in
I'm
the
calling him the dust guy.
back in the 1970s, before the advent of snack chips to the degree that we have them now, when you wanted tortilla chips, you would have to go to the Mexican store or whatever, and you would get tortilla chips. And inevitably, people would use their salt shakers or whatever, and they would add flavoring to the tortilla chips. And then the Doritos dude changed the game. The Doritos guy went, okay, so let's take these tortilla chips. People are already just adding their own home seasoning to it. What if we pre-did the seasoning, and what if we made it taste like nacho cheese, and what if we made it You're right. You are right. You've won me over to your side, James. The dust guy is amazing. Whoever the guy was that first started doing this, and it took off from there. I mean, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people who are professional dusters, but you're
Well,
right.
and look,
Dust
and so,
game is strong.
right, and once you master the dust game, you start doing sort of second level dust tricks, like where when you buy ramen noodles in the 10 pack, you
Mhm.
end up opening 2 packs and you put 2 of those flavors into one bowl of ramen noodles, and it's just a flavor explosion. And let me tell you this: J.P. Morgan in the mid 1800s, J.P. Morgan, the guy who started J.P. Morgan, which became
Right.
J.P. Morgan Chase, biggest bank in the world,
Mhm.
he was so rich at one time just because he was a nice guy. He paid off the national debt. This is how rich the guy was, right? We
Okay, you
think
think 'cause
Elon
he was a
Musk.
nice guy, you don't know the real reason for that? You don't know, 'cause what you're telling is true, but you think it's 'cause he was a nice guy, not
Well,
because
look,
he was about to go to
let's
jail.
not don't chase rabbits. Don't chase rabbits here. I'm
Okay,
just saying this is how rich
you're
and
just
power.
presenting a billionaire robber baron as a nice guy, but go ahead,
Okay,
continue.
but I'm just as an explanation of how overwhelmingly wealthy he was 150 years
Yes,
ago.
absolutely.
He
Yes.
did not get to eat food nearly as good as the poorest guy in America right now. He didn't get to eat hamburger helper one time. He didn't get Cool Ranch Doritos. He didn't get the cookie two-step Bluebell. He didn't get any of that. He only got blueberries if he went to Chile or something like that.
Well,
Like he didn't
trust
eat.
me, he was the richest guy in the world. He could get anything imported that he wanted. So the quality of the food that he was eating on the regular was incredible. The dude was probably popping lobster tails as snacks. Okay. Seriously. So, but you are right. You are right. The way food tastes today, and I think you're bringing this all back to the dust guy. I think the
Oh,
way
it's the dust
food,
guy.
the dust
The
guy.
dust guy has brought our standard of living, at least to what we taste,
Yeah.
into levels that couldn't have been dreamed about by billionaires 150 years ago. There's not a king of England that has had the amazing flavor palette attack from the dust guy that the poorest American has enjoyed for the last generation. And it's all dust guy.
I
It's
think
all dust guy.
I'm not. You're not out of bounds. I think you might be onto something here. As flavor, I mean, I've got a taste bud, a flavor palette that is tuned to the modern age. But I believe that if it was 1890 and you're okay, so you're Andrew Carnegie, right? You know, you're like the richest guy, one of the richest guys in the world.
That's kind of creeping into modern
The
times.
quality of food that you are eating on the regular is 1,000 times better than now. This dude
Not
had
if you go back 100. No, go back before the refrigerator or the icebox. Then it's not. It's just like
well, then it's even fresher. Then they're just cutting the cow up
King
and carving
Henry
them
the
up in it.
King Henry the Eighth would
Oh, he ate
trade
great.
places with your meals.
He ate great. No, I grant you that he would be blown away
You
by
would not. You
double
would
stuffed
not. You would
Oreos.
not trade your food options for Henry the Eighth's food options.
No,
Let me
no, I
put it like
wouldn't.
that.
No, of course I
No,
wouldn't.
no,
There's
hell
very
no.
little.
Dude never ate Whataburger once.
Wait a second though.
He
Could I?
probably never had a banana.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're
He
probably right. Probably never had an orange for that matter. You know, I mean, we're
never had
talking about
banana. He probably never had a potato back then because they were just now coming over. Never had a tomato. Never had corn.
so King Henry VIII was the 1660s. No, he had exotic food because they were sailing 1660s. How far were they getting? You know,
How far? A banana can't make it 3 months.
no, no, it can't. You're absolutely right. Um, so what was he getting? He was, yeah, he got whatever the hell they can grow within 300 miles of London. That's what he was eating. That's what King Henry VIII got. A lot of fish, a lot of, you
A
know,
lot of like rutabagas and rhubarbs and turnips and what the
what kind of
hell
fruits are
else?
native? What kind of fruits are native to England? Let's
Um,
go. Let's see.
the hell did Henry the Eighth eat?
Let's see what Henry VIII
I
would do.
guarantee you, everyone that's commenting over there, Jeff, Will, Byron, other Jeff, Brady, you all eat better than Henry the Eighth ate.
You know what is a very
Ram.
you know what's a good example of this? Were you a Game of Thrones watcher?
Hell yes.
Okay. Remember Sansa, who was like one of the most privileged women in all the land? Like her favorite exotic thing were lemon cakes. Like, and she had to wait years to get lemon cakes because the lemons had to travel from wherever the hell it is that they had lemons. And whenever she got a lemon, that's just like a plain Twinkie. You know, that's like what she was going crazy for. Twinkie without the stuffing, just like that cake, that sponge. So you're right. Yeah. Although the turkey legs, if you're down for turkey legs, a lot of big turkey legs were consumed back in those
Oh,
times.
huge fan of turkey legs, but we got those too.
All right, so here you go. So here are some fruits that King Henry VIII would. And by the way, when we're talking about flavor, that all back then comes from
Bro,
fruit.
you
Fruit is
think
where
you
the
think
natural sugars come from.
yeah, you think Henry the Eighth ever had barbecue sauce?
I don't think Henry.
Damn, dude, listen to this. This is just crazy talk.
No,
But
but I imagine they had rubs and stuff. They had spices. They had all the spices from the Middle East. Spices travel. You-
did they have
yeah,
like Bucky seasoning or whatever?
Jesus had spices. They gave Jesus spice. Yeah,
Up
King
on
Henry
his
VIII had
dead body.
what? No, when he was a baby. Remember, they gave him the frankincense and the myrrh
Oh,
and
I thought you smoked that.
no, those are spices. Those are things to make your goat
Some
taste
spices you
better.
smoke, man. Some
Yeah.
spices.
So
What
they
the
got
hell's myrrh? Did we ever? Is that the same as the man of mirth?
no, mirth and myrrh are two different things. Mirth is happiness and myrrh is a spice. Anyway,
I think you're making both those words up.
they got strawberries in England. Did you know that? Did you
Oh,
know that
thank goodness.
they
Good,
got
good, good. Because
strawberries?
that's one of my favorites. That's good.
Strawberries are good. They got gooseberries. I don't know what gooseberries. They're probably awful.
They have a gooseberry syrup at the IHOP when I was a kid, but I think I got discontinued because I was the only one that liked it.
They got elderflower. I don't know what elderflower is.
Saint
No idea.
Germain, the liqueur. That's all I know about that one.
They've got apples. so they got apples are
Okay,
good. They got
good.
apples over there. Yeah, they don't got no oranges. Um,
Damn.
they got grapes. They grow grapes. They have grapes. So look, a lot of sugar in grapes. They got watermelons. They've got melons over there.
Grapes aren't really native to England, but they're
Well, no,
close
but
enough. In
close enough where they
France.
could steal some seeds and start growing, you know? So, yeah, so England's got apples, they've got grapes, they've got, apples, grapes, strawberries, gooseberries, melons. They're doing okay. They're doing you can derive enough sugar to make recipes with all of those things, it'll be delicious.
Yeah, well,
No
not one
citrus,
Taco
though.
Bell.
Yeah. Not one
You
bottle of
think
sweet
Henry
baby
VIII
rays.
ever had a taco? You think he
No.
ever had a tortilla?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
because of Spain. Yes, because they had cousins. His cousins were in Spain. He traveled, to Spain, and they
Is Spain
probably
a tortilla? I mean, is tortilla a Spain thing or is tortilla a Mexico thing?
well, isn't a tortilla just unleavened bread? Isn't that all it is? I mean, they had a version of it.
Well, that's Jewish.
What yes, but it was a flat bread. But do you think they just invented the tortilla in 1975? What? Come on,
I
man.
don't know if it's a Mexican or Spanish thing, and I've made the mistake before conflating the two.
I'm pretty sure the tortillas are all they had. Oh, that's all they just flatten dough and paste, and they cook it on a hot rock, and there
They're
you go.
big into corn, right? Probably like some sort of cornmeal.
No,
Corn
corn's
flour.
American. That's American. That's 100%
Oh, you're
American.
talking about Spain flour. See, this is where I'm getting mixed up. So I'm conflating Mexican with Spanish.
No, you flour. You flour tortilla. Oh,
Okay.
corn tortillas. Yeah, that's my no, I was thinking flour tortillas, which I'm not a fan of. I prefer the corn tortilla.
I need to know the history of the damn tortilla.
I am North American through and through. Okay. Let's see here. We got anything else? Jeff says they had pigeons. Yeah, they did a lot of things with pigeons and whale fat.
That sounds nasty.
Did a lot of things. Beavers. You eat a lot of beaver, a lot of goat being eaten over there.
Who the hell eats beaver? And that's not a euphemism. I mean, who really?
English
Oh
people.
man, I would love to eat a beaver. I've never. Look, I'm old, so I hadn't had a new animal in a while, and I always like relish the chance to eat a new animal. And
Hold on.
beaver sounds like a pretty easy one.
Let's really just go through this the way we want to go through this.
Okay, no, here goes, man. I got the history of the tortilla.
Okay.
The place of origin is Mesoamerica. The Spanish did not have the tortillas.
No, that's the corn tortilla. You're talking about a corn tortilla.
Yeah, but the Aztecs had it.
Okay, pita. They had pita, which is just fat tortilla. Pita comes
The
from
Greek
ancient
tortilla?
Greece. Yeah, it's the
Okay.
same damn thing.
Oh, I didn't know. So, all right. So you're saying Henry VIII had a taco?
I'm saying he had
Final
a
answer.
version of something that had goat meat and like some kind of goat cheese, onions, and some semblance of a tortilla. Yes, I'm saying that.
Dude, if we ever had like a real historian on the show, he'd be so disappointed. He'd be like, "Yes, I have all the knowledge of the ancients at my disposal. What is your question?" We'd be like, "Did Henry VIII eat a tortilla taco? Like
you have a
ever?
taco.
You ever have a taco?"
Well, they didn't call it a taco, but he did have. All right, so I found this thing. What did they eat in the Middle Ages? Middle Ages food for poor people revolving around barley.
Sorry to jump in, but I was watching a video of like the typical breakfast in 1820, and it was kind of down this road too. But it was also a pain in the ass on how they had to cook everything over an open fire. That
And in pots. Everything was boiled.
a lot of boiling. You're right.
Mhm.
Notice that.
Let's see here. A lot of barley bread. I don't know what that's got to taste like. Porridge, gruel, and lots of pasta. They had lots of pasta back in the Middle Ages. Let's see here. Grain provided 65 to 70% of all the calories that were eaten in the 14th century.
Wow.
Vegetables were considered, James, peasant food. If you could grow it in the ground outside of your little mud hut, and ate it, then you were considered a peasant. Seasonings, right here, there's a whole thing on seasonings. Seasonings were for the upper class. If you could afford to season your food, woo, you were doing something right. Common seasoning for upper class people included verjuice, wine, vinegar, black pepper, saffron, and ginger. These, along with the wide use of honey, gave many dishes a sweet and sour flavor in the Middle Ages.
You had me at saffron.
Almonds. Almonds were very common. Almonds were commonly used as a thickener in soup, stews, and sausage, and almond milk was hugely popular.
So you must mean almond flour?
I
Almond flour would be
guess.
the thickener, right?
I don't know. Cow's milk was not a thing. They did not have many cows over there. Not a lot of room for the grazing. That's it's goats. That's why they ate goats and sheep because they're
Oh,
smaller. They
okay.
take up less space. Cow's milk was not drank in the Middle Ages because it spoiled too quickly, which is okay.
Well,
And
excuse me.
cheese. Cheese was a big deal. Cheese. They had all kinds of cheeses apparently.
Yeah.
Cheese was the most common source of protein for lower classes, and many of the varieties that we have today were popular hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Parmesan was very popular. Brie was very popular. Then
Oh, that makes me happy.
what do they cook with? Butter. They everything was cooked with butter. That's good.
I bet
That's
your butter
good.
was expensive.
Since bread was so central to the medieval diet, tampering with it or messing with the weight of bread was considered a serious offense punishable by death. Yes. I think that's where you get the steal the loaf of bread thing. Where that's always, like a peasant thing.
Like Les
He,
Miserables.
he stole the loaf of bread. Let's see, what else did they eat? They consumed about 4,000 calories a day in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, well, that's what I do, and I shouldn't.
Let's see what else. What else do we have here? I'm looking for examples of Middle Eastern food. Food and diet in the Middle Ages. You have opened a can of worms here that I'm fascinated with.
Oh, I went down this wormhole earlier this week. This is what I was watching a couple days ago. Typical breakfast of 1820, and then I was watching a medieval breakfast in like Paris, 1800s Paris.
This is interesting. Religious fasting.
Yeah,
You know why all religions would encourage their people to fast?
because they were out of food.
Because they were out of food. Yes, it wasn't for any kind of spiritual thing. It was just because, do a greater society a favor and don't eat nothing for like 3 days.
Right, that would really help out
Yeah.
everyone. Well, I'm
Let's see.
hungry. Well, it'll bring you closer to God then. Okay.
Doesn't say here. Yeah, a lot of goat, sheep, veal, not much beef at all. Birds, game birds were very big. Pheasants,
There we go with the pigeons again, huh?
chickens, pigeons. Yeah. Yeah. All right. There you go. I'll tell you something that I'm fascinated by. And I think we did this a while. I love looking at menus. We don't have to go back to the turn of the century. Well, depends on what turn of the century. I love looking at menus from the 1950s. They were amazing. They were the things there are so many things that were just considered staples. Like if you ever pull up like Google search a menu on the Titanic, that's another good one. Just look at the menu on the Titanic. It was like
Mutton chop.
yes, it was all like crazy things. Well here, okay, well, why not? Since I brought it up. That's always a good one. Menu on the Titanic. Or maybe even menu on the Hindenburg.
It's like a whole leg from a deer or something.
Yeah, it was all that kind of stuff. All right, here we go. Let's see what
Duck.
we got. Menu on the Titanic. All right, lunch. Consommé fermier, which is just broth. Consommé is just broth. It's not soup. There's nothing in it. It's just here's hot flavored water. The precursor of the dust guy.
Okay.
He made the flavored water.
His
Then
ancestor, yeah.
on the Titanic, you can get a fillet of brill.
I don't even know what the hell a brill is.
I don't either. I think that's
What
fish.
am I, an idiot? Hang on.
Chicken a la Maryland, corned beef vegetable dumplings. Come on, those sound good. Those sound
That
good.
does. Well, vegetable dumplings, what?
Corned beef vegetable dumplings. So that's I imagine that's corned beef and cabbage
All
dumplings.
right, there's a brill fish.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's fillet of brill. That's what that is. Grilled mutton chops you can get from the grill.
I knew there'd be mutton chops in there. It's always in there.
Mashed, fried, or baked potatoes. Potatoes were big players. For desserts, you could get an apple meringue or
Nice.
custard pudding or pastry, which is just like a donut. Here, have a donut for your fancy trip across the Atlantic.
A rich boy.
Yeah, here you
That's
go.
what I'm
Here.
saying. We ate better than these fools.
Salmon mayonnaise, Norwegian anchovies, potted shrimps.
That's nasty.
Dude, salmon mayonnaise, potted shrimps, Norwegian anchovies, and skewed herring.
You wouldn't rather have hamburger helper beef stroganoff?
I would. I
Yeah,
totally
you
would.
would.
Yeah.
You'd rather
Then
have that toasted cheddar chalupa from Taco Bell for sure.
scoobed herrings. I don't even know what that is, but
Scoobed?
I don't want that. Yeah.
Scoobed sounds like a sex move I don't want to do.
How about some veal and ham pie?
Maybe. That might be good, but it's not. I wouldn't order it on purpose.
There are a lot of things that are really terrible about me, but one of the things that is most terrible about me is that I love veal. I love it. I love it. I don't care. I know it's delicious,
The
man.
suffering tastes good. Yeah.
You can taste the suffering. But what I won't eat, I not what I won't eat because I've never had an opportunity. But if it was ever presented to me, foie gras, I wouldn't eat that. I know that's the exploded goose liver thing where they force feed a goose until the liver explodes, and then
Now, even if it's good, it's like, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this.
the suffering little lamb makes a delicious veal. But I don't know about the choking goose. I don't know if that's gonna make for good food. Bologna sausage. That's just a hot dog. That's just a hot dog without the bun.
Yeah, that's just a hot dog wiener.
Yeah. Would you like in your first class cabin some bologna sausage? I guess they wouldn't talk like that because the Titanic was English. Hey, governor, will you like a nice bologna sausage?
Wouldn't that just be a hot dog?
Galantine of chicken. How about some corned ox tongue? That's another meal you can get on the Titanic.
I'll have another hot dog. Is that the hot dog in it?
Excuse me, governor. Are you serving the corned ox tongue this evening? Oh, I'm sorry, madam. We're all out of the corned ox tongue. Cheese. You get some cheese. Get a
I'll
piece
stick
of-
with the cheese rather than corned ox tongue. Have you ever even seen an ox with your own eyes, Bugs?
No.
No. I think I saw one at the zoo one time.
Yeah, probably. I saw a water buffalo. Same thing, right? I saw that at the zoo. All right, cheese. You could get some Roquefort, which is just that sounds terrible.
Never even heard of it. Yeah.
Camembert. Camembert is that stinky cheese. It's like the cheese that stinks really bad. It stinks so bad, it's good. I'm not interested. And cheddar. Look at that. You can get cheddar. All served with a warm.
Yeah, look, we think of our cheddar that we go and get from the grocery store. This cheddar probably smelled like a butthole.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, but it still might have been good. Cheese is cheese, man. The cheesemakers, they perfected cheese hundreds and hundreds of years ago. They wouldn't have kept trying. You know,
So
we wouldn't still have it if it wasn't.
they don't
great
use the same.
hundreds of years ago.
See, maybe, but we don't know because the palate, the human palate has changed so much. Like there was the New Belgian brewery found a recipe from like 1457 for beer, and they're
Mhm.
like, well, we replicated this recipe. Or no, actually, they said we modernized this recipe. And so I was at like a beer tasting. There was a representative from the New Belgian beer, and he was like one of these beer nerds who went to like beer college, so he knew all the answers. And so I was like, wait, 1457. There's no way y'all use the same recipe. Y'all didn't have carbonated water. You didn't have refrigeration. You know, like seriously, y'all had to change something. So you used the word modernized. And he said, oh, well, actually, I know the answer to this. We use modern processing and we did add carbonated water. The only ingredient we took out was wormwood. And I said, what the hell is wormwood?
Oh, you don't know what wormwood is?
I don't know what even to this day, I don't know what wormwood is.
It's psychedelic. It's basically a psychedelic.
Oh man, are you kidding?
No.
Like this beer would make you trip.
Probably, yeah. If you use enough of it, yeah.
So the dude knew, and he was enjoying the conversation because usually people go to beer tasting and they're like, I'm just gonna drink like 6 beers for $14. This would be great. No, I mean,
all of these things though that you mention as being different about, let's say, the process of making beer in that case, or in the process of making cheese, as we're talking about, you know, they didn't have carbonated water, they didn't have this. All of these modern processes that you are describing, and applying to your belief that it made them taste better. That's not they were for. They expedited the creation. They could just make cheese faster now because of all these things. It doesn't don't make it better necessarily. It's just that you can mass produce it now because of all of these things. It used to take a long time to make cheese. You ever seen like you ever been to an Amish community?
No, I have not been to an Amish community, but I know what you're talking about where they put the
Ice cream.
curds in the cheesecloth and it takes like 4 years to make it.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
fresh Amish ice cream, and we spent like a whole day on this like Amish thing. And it's in Indiana. It's I don't know, it's something you do for the day. You pick apples and shit like that. And the woman started making like she was churning up the ice cream at like I don't know 11 a.m. in the morning, and they're like, and when you come back, then you'll get some ice cream. And I'm like, at 4 o'clock, she should be done by then. I'm like, what do you mean should be? It's gonna take her 5 hours to make a bowl of ice cream. And then we had this like Amish vanilla ice cream. And James, let me tell you, it was so friggin' pedestrian. It wasn't, you want it to be like, this is the greatest ice cream I've ever had because it was handmade by a religious zealot. It's delicious.
Yeah,
It's not that. It was
yeah,
just,
some religious lady gave herself arthritis for 5 hours.
you had to make mediocre ice cream.
And look at this. Leslie's over here saying once fermented wormwood is different. You're a wormwood expert all of a sudden. There's an ingredient I never even heard of before. And now you people are, y'all are all geniuses and I'm an idiot.
It makes people trip. Well, at least there's something in warm.
Leslie didn't trip off of it apparently.
Wormwood. Isn't that? I thought that wormwood was the ingredient in what is that? What is that drink? What is that? What's that drink that you can't get anywhere?
Absinthe.
Absinthe. Yeah, I thought that wormwood was in absinthe.
Oh, that kind of sounds right without Googling anything and cheating.
Hold on. I'm cheating.
Please do, because I'm talking out my ass.
Biblical translated wormwood, New Testament interpretation. Certain commentators have held that this great star. Yeah, in the Bible, they took wormwood and then saw Jesus. They saw like stars and stuff like that. Various religious groups and figures, including Seventh-day Adventists and the theologian Matthew Henry, regard the okay, come on.
Well, take your caps off, smarty pants.
I don't know what this is. All right, what is this? Wormwood Bible? I don't want Wormwood Bible. I want wormwood as in
ask Leslie. She's the wormwood expert over here.
Yeah. Does wormwood, I'm just gonna put, does wormwood get you high? Right? That seems like something that might have a Google result because teenagers, they're always
wormwood beer.
Like in the sense of getting one high, technically any psychoactive substance, it's a psychoactive substance. Technically, any psychoactive substance can be considered a high. Thujune is that's wormwood, is definitely capable of psychoactive effects, meaning Artemisia absinthium. Absinthe.
There you go. Yeah, okay.
Artemisia absinthium, more commonly known as wormwood, does make you high. Does Artemisia absinthium okay? So now what is have you ever had absinthe? I've always wanted to try it.
Oh, I definitely have. There's the old absinthe house in New Orleans.
But is it real? Because it's illegal. Real absinthe.
I don't think it's illegal in New Orleans. I don't know, man.
It is.
I had like 6 of them one night, and I was pretty messed up, but I wasn't tripping.
Hold on. All right, is absinthe legal in the U.S.? Okay, it says yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Absinthe.
Even in New Orleans?
It says, yeah, it's legal. Is absinthe legal in the U.S.?
Legal, okay.
Yes, it's totally legal.
Cool.
Is absinthe legal in the United States? Yes, it's totally legal as long as it is created within certain parameters. While it was banned in the U.S. and several European countries in the early 1900s due to alleged dangerous properties, it was made legal in the U.S. again in 2007 with regulated Thujune levels. All right. So like the absinthe of lore where people would take it and then, wasn't absinthe what the berserkers, the Vikings took when they would like get completely tripped out and just go on rampages?
On a killing spree.
So apparently they figured out like a way to make absinthe so it's not like the absinthe of old.
Well, I tried to trip on it and it didn't work.
Didn't work? Did it even get you drunk or anything?
Well, there's a ton of alcohol in there too, and I was drunk. So
Absinthe has often, this is Wikipedia, absinthe has often been portrayed as a dangerously addictive psychoactive drug and hallucinogen. The chemical compound thune, which is present in the spirit in trace amounts, was blamed for its alleged harmful effects. By 1950, absinthe had been banned in the United States and in much of Europe, including France, Netherlands, Belgium, Sweden, Hungary. Yet it has not been demonstrated to be any more dangerous than ordinary spirits. Recent studies have shown that absinthe's psychoactive properties, apart from those attributed to alcohol, have been widely exaggerated. There you go.
Hey, that backed up my my personal experimentation with drugs.
Did they do it with the spoon though? And
They
then
did. They
yeah,
did.
it's like
Yep.
the absinthe. And was it green?
Yeah, and it smelled sort of like licorice, I guess is
Yeah,
the closest.
yeah. That's the flavor.
Okay.
That's anise or an anise. Isn't that what it is?
Thune. I guess I had Thune. Isn't that the name of the
Don't
ingredient?
claim it. Look, now I'm getting programming advice from Leslie. Don't claim. Don't. How about this? How about the peanut gallery? Don't try and tell me how to broadcast. Huh? How about that? Stay in the peanut gallery.
Yeah, so there were a couple times I would do absinthe in New Orleans just to see if it would work because I did it once on my own, and then I did it once when a friend came to town, and then I did it another time when I got a new job and a coworker that was new to town wanted to try it. I want to do absinthe. Fine, let's go. It's no
Yeah,
big
I'm reading
deal.
about
Let's
it.
go.
It was made legal, re-legalized in 2007. So just recently, it had been illegal for pretty much the bulk of our lives. Absinthe myths, how absinthe is made. Yeah, I've never had it. I've never even seen it. And I just assumed that because I wasn't aware of the repeal of the draconian absinthe laws of the 1900s, had changed it. Absinthe is legal in the U.S. It is wormwood. I don't know, right? It wasn't she saying it's not that? I'm saying right here. I don't care. I'm going with what Google says. Um, Will says, if you haven't been to the Renaissance Fair this year, you can't speak on absinthe. Okay.
Mhm.
There you go. Didn't know we had such ardent defenders of the absinthe way here.
Absinthe is at Renaissance festivals now.
Giant turkey legs, too.
Ye old turkey leg.
Would you
Yes.
eat like a giant comical turkey leg?
Yeah, I'll eat the whole thing and then I'll carry around the
I'm good.
bone and
I'm good.
beat my kids with it.
All right, so I had a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to get into with you, but we're plumb out of time. That's going to do it for today's show.
Well, it couldn't have been more important than the dust guy.
No. You know what? You opened up a can of wormwood, and we went down that bunny hole. And
Well, look, we give all this honor to, the heroes of society, whether it's like first responders or cops or teachers or firemen or whatever.
Mhm.
Dust guy needs to be on that Mount Rushmore.
Can I
Of
give you another guy who I think is a hero of the
please.
modern age? Okay, so for years and years, the breath mint industry was ruled by the CERT, right? The CERT. And then the Tic Tac guy came along and they were like, we've made the CERT even smaller and we've packed just as much flavor. But can we at least acknowledge the presence of the Smint Man? That guy, the Smint Man,
What is
took
cement?
Smints? You don't remember Smints? Those tiny little Smints that were like as powerful as Altoids? I remember how Altoids are like humorously powerful. They're
Uh-huh.
like, oh, like you tried to eat an entire. I don't know. We did when we were kids. But you can't eat an entire tin of Altoids. Yeah, I can. And then you'd be like, ah, and your eyes would be watering. It'd be like you just sucked down a tube of Bengay. You know, like, ah, it'd be horrible. Well, I don't know. Somewhere around the year 1999, Smints came out, and Smints are like half the size of a Tic Tac,
Okay, these
and like
teeny tiny little discs.
and just as powerful as an entire Altoid.
So it's like the
That guy,
fentanyl of mints.
yes,
Okay.
that guy did something. That guy, I always thought that guy was spectacular. That guy really accomplished something in his field. He took the power of an Altoid and he shrunk it down to half the size of a Tic Tac, and I just hope that he receives some kind of pat on the back, something. I don't know. Probably worked for a company that made millions. The other topic that I was thinking of bringing up were not just foods from the Middle Ages, but give me about 5 minutes on this because I think this is worthy to discuss. What foods are now considered staples to you and your modern life that didn't exist when you were 12 years old? Are there any foods that didn't exist when you were, say, 12 years old that now you're like, I can't imagine? I had this conversation with
Yeah,
my
you know
kid.
what? There's a lot of ethnic stuff. I didn't. There was never any Thai restaurants when I was growing up.
Okay. All right.
And then there's a couple more examples like that. Like I didn't eat sushi. Sure as hell didn't eat sushi
Yeah,
when I
but
was
it was
12.
around. Sushi's an ancient thing. It's been around for, but you just weren't exposed to it. Let me give you a couple examples, okay,
Okay.
of things that I had a conversation. I've lately been saying I come from the '80s, and it started with me and my kid. Whenever my kid, Tortilla's good one, Leslie. Whenever my kid, takes something for granted, I go, "Let me tell you about the '80s," and I go into this whole thing. In the '80s, when I'd pull into my driveway, my mom, your grandma, would make me get up and open the garage door because in the '80s we didn't have electric garage door, stuff like that. In the '80s, when somebody wanted to change the channel, I had to get off my ass and walk to the TV and physically change. So, that's my whole. I came from the '80s thing that I always do with my kid. But there are foods. There are some real. I mean, dude, I spent a good chunk of my life in a world that did not have nachos. Nachos were not a thing until the late '70s. Nachos were invented by the Texas Rangers at Texas Rangers baseball games. At least the nachos that we know of with the cheese that you pump and it. So that was a thing. Nachos didn't exist. You ready for another thing that didn't exist in my lifetime? Buffalo wings. Buffalo wings appeared at the end of the 1980s with the
Yeah.
advent of Hooters. And everybody was like, "What are buffalo wings? I've never heard of. What is? Are they buffaloes don't have wings?" Are like the kinds of things we used to say. Buffalo wings are a friggin' staple now. I love buffalo wings, and I would say the first 20 years of my life, there was no such thing as buffalo. You had to go to Buffalo, New York, in one restaurant, the Anchor Bar, in particular, if you wanted buffalo wings. It was them. Here's another one. Didn't exist. And this didn't exist until I was like 30, and now they're everywhere. Energy drinks. There was no such thing as Red Bull in the '80s.
Oh, stop it! Stop! Stop!
Are
No,
you
no, no,
seriously pushing back on this? There was
no, no.
no.
I am pushing back on this because the original Coke and Dr Pepper were both energy drinks. For
No,
God's sake, they had cocaine in them, but
no, no.
it
Okay, you're
served the
being
same function.
no.
No, no, no. I look, it served the same function. This was supposed to be a pick me up. This is why you drank it at 10, 2, and 4. This is why you
Sure.
didn't drink it at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
You're gonna try and go to bed. But and that's why they put cocaine in it, and that's why they put caffeine in it. So you would
Right. But those were colas. Those were filed under soda pops. That was a completely different category. They introduced an entirely new category of energy drink and it came from the Far East, this guano or whatever it was. Do you know the story on Red Bull? It was some dude in Germany or Austria or whatever. I think it was Austria. He was like a soda pop distributor, and his area was Vietnam or something. I think it comes from Vietnam. Thailand, maybe something like that. I don't know. And he went over there and he was trying to sell soda pop to these people. Oh, and by the way, we did it. We had Jolt, but Jolt was Jolt Cola, and that was just double the caffeine. But they weren't called energy drinks. They weren't. Dude, I existed before Gatorade. Okay, we used to drink
wow.
water
What are
from
you,
a bucket.
100?
Yeah, Gatorade was from the '70s, and it didn't really make it into the mainstream until the mid to late '80s.
I don't remember life before Gatorade.
We used to drink water out of a bucket. There was no Gatorade. All right, so the dude was trying to sell soda pop for this like Austrian soda pop company down there in like Far East, and they were all drinking this stuff it had this guara thing, and he like bought the rights to it.
Guarana.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, he bought the rights to it, and he went back to Austria. What was it originally called? It was
Red Bull?
No, Red Bull is the English translation of. It was called Red Bull, but it was like Ding Chow. However you say Red Bull in that language.
Right.
It was like Ding
Fair
Chow.
enough.
And then he went, "Oh, well, Ding Chow ain't going to sell to the English-speaking markets," which Austria isn't, so I don't know why that was a thing. But yeah, that's the story. It had been around in like the Far East. It was a drink that they drank, and he went, "Boy, this is like liquid cocaine. I bet you people in Europe would enjoy this." And then when did it come to America? Hold on. It was illegal too. Anyway, I remember the first time we saw Red Bull, and it was probably the late '90s, and it was like, huh. What did you think it tasted? Well, see, you always had it, right? It was always around. For your generation, you thought,
Well, Red Bull, no, that kind of came out when I was in middle school, and I hear what you're saying because it did have a different taste, and it wasn't along that. Let's see how sweet we can make this caramely drink.
right? Yeah,
It
no,
was
it was
different,
a different kind of packaging. It was a tall,
but
thin can.
we had already had the move away from the hyper sweet sugar sodas with like there was a couple pushes. Do you remember Clearly Canadian?
Sure, yeah, I love Clearly Canadian.
Yeah,
Wild
with
Cherry was
the
my brand.
right, and they had like mountain berry and they had a really good peach. What was the peach one?
Peach, probably probably just called Peach.
It's like peachy peach or something. But
Okay.
but no, we had already had a move away from it, and there had been some expressed interest in something besides, the sweet syrupy Coke or Dr. Pepper or even like the 7-Up Sprite genre before Red Bull came along. But it was totally different for sure.
Red Bull first entered the United States market in 1997, focusing at first on 4 Western states: California, Oregon, Texas, and Colorado. It was marketed to Americans as a non corporate alternative to Coke and Pepsi cola makers, and both packaging and pricing helped set it apart. The drink was sold in unique, narrow 8.3-ounce cans for $2 a piece. Yeah, 97. So there was no energy. And by the way, Red Bull was the first. Then, of course, that took off. So then now there's a whole bunch of different kinds of energy drinks. Well, that didn't. So nachos didn't exist for me. You know what we had? If you went to a restaurant and you got an hors d'oeuvre, you know what the hors d'oeuvres were? Potato skins. Everything was potato skins back then. The
What?
70s. Yeah, it was all
No.
oh, dude, it was all potato skins. It's potato skins or calamari. That's all it was. You
That
didn't get
sounds
nachos.
awful.
You didn't get buffalo wings. Cheese sticks weren't around. Cheese
All
sticks
right.
is another one.
So if look, I have a hard time with subjects like this because I come from a small town, and I don't know if maybe we just didn't get one of these franchises in here, but I didn't see a Mongolian grill until I moved to Dallas.
Yeah.
Right? Were y'all? I don't know. Maybe y'all were doing that before I was born in the '70s and whatnot, and I was just living. Was there a Genghis grill or anything like that? Was there the
Yeah.
Brazilian, like a Texas State Brazil, or the Fogo de Chao, the Churrascara
Well,
style?
no, that was something that I was first Brazilian style steakhouses is something I was introduced to when I moved here. However, we had Benihana's, and Benihana's are the same thing. It's a hibachi restaurant where it's a big
Mhm.
table and it's like hibachi, and the guy's cooking and you all sit around. So that's
But
basically.
that doesn't sound very Mongolian to me.
Well, but no, but those existed for years. I mean, those go back to the 1930s and 40s in big cities like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco. Those things always existed. Anywhere where there was that Japanese culture, the Japanese neighborhoods or whatever, you had hibachi grills. The Mongolian barbecue, though, I think Benihana was probably the first attempt to sort of commercialize it and then franchise it out. But yeah, same thing. Mongolian, it wasn't a big player, but it was a thing. They were around. But it's really for me. It's just it's about living in a world without nachos, energy drinks, or buffalo wings. I can't believe that those were things that didn't even want, didn't miss, didn't need.
Didn't know you needed it.
Till it was here, and now we can't live without any of them. Gatorade too. All right, James, go ahead. I'm gonna look away. When I turn back, you better be gone. There it is. That's how it works. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on Pugs and Parker. Proudly present Pillow Talk on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. Today was food night. I'm dressed like this because within a good 10 seconds after I sign out, I'm going to be out the door and doing my nighttime run. Who am I going to be listening to tonight? I don't know. Nah, you know what? I know what I'm going to listen to. I don't need to share that with you guys. Be well, sleep well. Let's all gather back here tomorrow at noon for the High Noon stream. High Noon is topics, headlines, trends, current events, pop culture, anything that's going on in the world. I will cover it on the High Noon show today. I did over 4 hours today. Typically, I say, we'll do the high noon show. It'll go from noon till at least 2 o'clock, and we'll do all the time. Okay, I got off there at 4:15 today. That's because of you. That's because I enjoy it. That's because we have fun together. We had a good crowd in the chat room this afternoon. I thank you all. Plenty of room for newbies. You don't have to listen to stupid AM talk radio during the day. You can just stream the show. You got a phone, go to YouTube, go to Facebook, follow us, subscribe, do all of that stuff. Seeing a lot of new faces lately. Hi, Cheryl. There's Cheryl. Cheryl's a relatively new face. Good night, April. Good night, Kenny. Leslie. No, I love you. Oh, wait a second. Pugs wants to think that Chicago was the only Midwestern Mecca. Mecca of what? That's a bit open-minded. It's the only major world-class American city in the Midwest. I'm sorry to tell you that. It's true. It's true. We laugh. What are you going to give me, St. Louis? We laugh at St. Louis. St. Louis is our bitch. Do you know that we reversed the flow of the Mississippi or the Chicago River so that our shit could be pumped down to St. Louis? That's right. St. Louis is our bitch. Looking at you too, Milwaukee. Although Milwaukee's like our Canada. We're friends with them. They're cool. Indy, Cowtown. Get out of here with your Indy. Who do we accept? We don't accept anybody. Chicago doesn't accept anybody in the city of. There's nobody that is on our level. We live in New York, fine, whatever. You're a little bit bigger. Chicago is New York done right. Chicago is New York with alleys for our garbage. Not like you trash people. Detroit, get the hell out of here. Oh, Chicago's time has passed. Okay, well, yeah. Wait, I'm not done yet. Who else? Minneapolis, yeah, nice mall city. St. Louis, eat our shit. Literally, eat our shit, St. Louis. Detroit, yeah, keep trying. Indianapolis, why are we even talking about them? Bunch of inbred hillbillies. Yeah, doesn't compete. We are the capital of the Midwest. No other Midwestern cities are even close to being in our league. New York, screw you. Were you done right? Boston, sit down, little guy. Tired of Boston. Boston thinks they're something. Boston, you're like half our size. Get out of here. Stupid little city. There you go. Little hometown pride. Little shit talking. Yeah, I'm definitely a Chicago snob. Love you guys. See you tomorrow at noon.